Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And last night was WWE Monday Night Raw. There were parts of the show which I liked, parts which I really didn't like, and we're going to be getting into that and more today. But firstly, the co-host of the show, Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm doing well. How are you? Good to see you again. I'm stoked to be back. Tuesday is always a fun day. I've got this one and then Wrestling Off the Air later this afternoon with Drizzy and Shad. It should be a blast. We've got basically like a pseudo midweek premium live event on tap. So I'm stoked to talk about that tonight. But before that, let's break down last night's Raw. And like you said, it was funky, man. Hard not to be an up and down show in 3 hours, but this one was up and down, roller coaster-esque without question. And I'm ready to break it down.
Absolutely. And of course, like you said, you'll be on another show tonight because, of course, Wrestling Off the Air at 3:15 a.m. UK time, immediately following NXT. That's 10:15 Eastern, and I believe either 7:15 Pacific. Is that correct, Clark?
Yes, 7:15 Pacific over here for sure.
Yes. So, guys, make sure you check that. And yeah, of course, Clark's doing 2 shows in a day. It's not a competition, but if it was, I'd win because I did 2 episodes of Take It to the Table earlier, which you guys will want to check out soon. If it was a competition, I'd win. But I'm only joking.
Hardest working man in show business, you'd always win, Ben. I know that.
Drizzy was also on both the shows as well, so shout out to Drizzy. And yeah, make sure you guys watch Wrestling Off the Air later today. But talking about right now, also joining us, we have Carter. How are you, Carter?
I'm doing good, boys. I'm happy to be upgraded from SmackDown to Raw. I mean, it was a pretty good show. I feel like some of our needs were met, some of them were not. I'm gonna try to come in with about 5% of the energy. Gypsy John Fury came in today. He came in pretty fired up, started knocking over tables. So I'll come in with a little bit of that, but I don't think I'm going to knock anything over. But I'm fired up. I mean, I thought it was a great show last night. Some stuff was a little bit, little boring, little plug and play, but that's why we have the show. We'll get talking about it.
Absolutely, we will. We got a couple of comments already. Firstly, WWE_26 on YouTube is saying hello, welcome to the show. We've also got a comment from Melissa saying hey, and also asking, how's the weather over in California right now, Clark?
We're so back. It's beautiful and sunny, and it's all evaporating, and it's back to Southern California weather. It's awesome, and thank you for asking. But yeah, we're good to go. And got lucky. Nothing bad in the backyard, and we're good to go.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad that the hurricane was all good for you guys. We've also got Laurie Taylor in the comments. Shout out to you. And we've also got Carl Kenahan saying Gunther versus Gable was so great. Well, we'll certainly be getting into that one. In fact, why don't we just get into it right now? So let's firstly talk about Gunther versus Gable. And this was a David versus Goliath match done right. Gunther looked great. He was very dominant throughout the match, but Gable kept finding a way. Gable fought a fantastic fight. And, in the end, Gable got the win by a countout. And I'll tell you why I love this, right? Firstly, Gable's now the first person to defeat Gunther on the main roster, which is amazing in itself. But secondly, Gable celebrated the win. Of course he did. But he didn't celebrate like he was champion. Usually in this situation, WWE would, they'd book talents to make it seem like, well, they're acting like they're champion. Oh, yeah. And they just look like a dumb baby face. Chad Gable, he always claims to be smart and all of this. That's his gimmick. And yeah, he wasn't surprised when he didn't win the title by countout, but he was just super happy that he beat Gunther. And then he said to Gunther, next, I'm coming for your championship. I really like this, and this could be a high-stakes rematch just before Gunther, gets that record-breaking Intercontinental title reign. I love this. But Clark, I'll send it to you first, then we'll go Carter. What did you think of this?
I've been absolutely putting Gable over since I was reviewing Raw in the middle of last year. Every week, I love him in the ring, and I loved the way this was booked. It reminds me of the classic, we've weirdly brought up the Dusty Rhodes not winning the WWE title, but winning the match via countout back in 1978 numerous times. It's an old school finish. And the match was so exciting and so well wrestled. There's no reason not to get us to the next one. And I was excited to see it. I truly enjoyed it. And at the end of the day, I want Gable to get one more match and just get close. And then maybe in the third, give it to him. If there's gonna be anyone to beat Gunther, the ring general, it's an Olympian. It's somebody with that kind of background. And there's more story to be told. As much as Gable's been a comedy character, there's a way that this can turn and really elevate Gable. Chad Gable, that is, not Gable Stevenson. Chad Gable. And I think it's worth it because he's that talented. I don't mind it in the least. And it's still entertaining with Otis and Maxine Dupree. And I'm really excited to see what they do from here. And I'm happy to see Gable getting the time and the victory over Gunther, even if it is by countout and he doesn't win the title.
Yeah, no, I do 110%, I agree with that. It was, the way it was done, these two they just work together, so well. The chemistry was really, really there. I mean, we've got a couple of comments again now. The comments are on fire already today. I love to see it, guys. Carl saying it's so great. Pierce Kiernan, shout out to Pierce. He's saying, Carl, our jobs have been stolen. Pierce and Carl did a podcast with me years back. Shout out to them. Boys, we need to get a pint after all in Wembley Stadium this Sunday. That's a no-brainer. And Matt Williams saying he's pumped for the off-the-air NXT review tonight. Now, I'm not going to lie. I've had a complete brain fart. Carter, did I introduce you at the start of the show?
Yes, you did.
I did.
No, you did. It went great.
I mentioned John Fury.
Was like,
totally
of
fine.
course you did.
Oh,
wow.
I said everything I needed to say.
Oh, no. Did I forget to introduce Carter? Carter's here. He was a big fan of the John Fury in the press conference earlier today as well. But unlike my complete mess there, this match was not a mess. But what did you think about it, Carter?
Thought it was perfect. I mean, the end result after it happened, I literally thought to myself, I go, that's perfect. I don't know how I didn't think of that. Like Clark mentioned, it was old school. I mean, beautiful German suplex, I think, over the barrier. And Gunther just, I mean, for Chad Gable to be able to throw Gunther's a big dude that far. And yeah, I mean, two top tier, amazing, strong style. Chad's got his roots in Olympic wrestling. And it is just a beautiful match, beautiful finish, great use of, I don't know if I'd call mid-carders, upper mid. I think Gunther's getting he might be the best Intercontinental Champion of all time by the time this is all done and said. And maybe we should clip that so Instagram can argue with me. But no, I just thought it was the perfect use of this talent. Like, normally in wrestling, like we complain when things are underutilized. Beautiful use of all these guys, these two factions, Alpha Academy, the way they're using Maxine in the feud. It's just like, it was just beautiful. Almost the only complaint I may have, this might take it from 5 to 4.75 stars, is that it was in the middle of the show. I thought they could have rounded out the show with it. That's the only kind of issue is I go, this was, but like perfect wrestling match, perfect finish, perfect story. Shout out to Gunther, shout out to Chad, shout out to everyone in Imperium and Alpha Academy. I love it. And I mean, anything that's an ode to old school, strong style wrestling, because that's our roots is, like the English coal mines and, catch as catch can. So I loved it. It was a beautiful old school match with an old school finish.
Shout out Jose Lothario, catch as catch can.
Shout out to the British coal miners as well from back in the day.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I love that reference, Carter.
I do too.
But But yeah, no, I do agree with you. And I think, it could have been a very solid main event. I'm going to be honest, I did like where it was on the card for, one reason mainly, and that reason is the finish. A counter finish in the main event is never, doesn't go down that well. But I do agree, this was done so perfectly. And it was a count-out finish done a way a count-out finish should be done, that it could have been the main event. But, fans are fickle, as Daniel Bryan said, And yeah, Matt Williams in the YouTube comments saying, I missed his introduction. Well, hello, welcome to the show, Matt
What's
Williams.
up, Matt Williams?
Well.
Shout out, Matt.
But let's now go on and let's talk about the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Nakamura, of course, last week. 2 weeks ago, he turned on Seth Rollins, and last week he whispered something in the ear of Seth. It was announced in the build-up to last night's episode of Raw that he was going to announce what he whispered in Seth's ear that made him so shocked. Well, Nakamura cut a pre-recorded promo in Japanese with English subtitles, and it was done perfectly, right? David on last week's show did actually say this exact thing, right? He said, do it with subtitles, that works well. Clark's completely thrown off because
the British subtitles got me so good. I just was thinking about it. The subtitles were
real English,
written with the accent.
but anyway. Oh no, I'm now thrown off too.
Sorry,
but Nakamura, cut a promo with subtitles. It was done really well. The vignettes have been killing it lately, WWE. That's no real surprise, but I'm enjoying this Nakamura heel turn. But here's where it gets interesting. What Nakamura whispered to Seth Rollins was that Seth Rollins has an injured back. He's had an injured back for years. And then Seth Rollins, in an interview later on in the night, said that it's true. He's had an injured back for 4 years, and he's not sure how long he'll be able to wrestle for going forward. Now, the question is this a storyline? Well, obviously, it's a storyline now, but was this originally a storyline? Is that really an injury? Does, Seth Rollins only have so much time left in his career? I really, really hope not. But I love the build for this World Championship match last night on Raw. It is now official for Payback, a week Saturday, which does seem very soon. Of course, the day before AEW All Out. But I'm excited for this. This Nakamura heel turn, I much prefer it to his original heel turn in 2017 at this moment, or 2018 at this moment in time. But Clark, give me your thoughts on the build to Nakamura versus Rollins throughout Monday Night Raw.
I was blown away last night. First, because we've had this awesome run out of Nakamura over nearly a decade now in the WWE. And the only complaint is always like, well, he needs a mouthpiece and the promo thing. And nobody thought subtitles. Like, how did it take this long?
Yeah.
It was the best Nakamura promo ever in WWE, in my eyes. It was delivered. You could see by the body language how it was just amazing how talented Shinsuke is actually on the microphone in his own language. And it came across outstanding with the subtitles. Please stick with that. He does not need his own mouthpiece. He can speak for himself. And it was awesome. I loved it. And I even loved later in the night, Seth coming back with the he's in a studio thing. I dig it. It was great. And I don't know necessarily your question about whether the injury is real and now a story or not, but there's some realism. He's definitely had back issues in the past, and the best wrestling has at least some realism, and this one definitely does. And I love the connecting the dots week by week, the way that they've done with this one. It has me as excited for any Nakamura matches I've seen maybe since the original Styles match.
Wow.
The original Styles match at Mania, that is, in WWE.
Yeah.
Any Nakamura WWE match since the original Styles match. I would say I'm most excited about this rivalry. This is just well thought out and very, very high quality, smart professional wrestling, top to bottom. And I have no doubt about those two's ability to deliver bell to bell. So that's the least of my worries.
No, I mean, I actually can't disagree with you there now, thinking about it. I can't think about a Nakamura match I've been more excited for than this one since the Stars match at Mania, their first encounter. I mean, I was hyped for the second encounter too, I guess, even though the first under-delivered. But then when the second one under-delivered, it had that, I believe it was a low blow finish. I think that's how their second match ended, leading to a third.
I actually thought the first one was the low blow. Wasn't it?
No, it was, yeah, that was at the end of it.
First
yeah.
one was the low blow, and then the second one was a clean.
And then, yeah. I can't remember what the finished second one even was, because I know it was something controversial. I know it wasn't clean, because then the third one, there was a third one. I'm not sure if it was a DQ or if I'm getting them mixed up with the Samoa Joe trilogy.
I will say, though, if we're going to include outside of WWE, because you and I and Carter actually watched it this year, Nakamura and Muda.
Yeah, that's a good one, too.
Was the one that I was as excited about as anything. It's ironic that the three of us on this show today are the ones that the two of us stayed up in the middle of the night. Ben got up early. It was a blast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I actually forgot about that almost.
Yeah, no, I had to bring it up on this show.
Absolutely.
Especially because it was the three of us that watched it. It was a classic.
No, it really, really was. And yeah, Nakamura, I said when he returned, from not his excursion in Japan this year, but, he went to Japan for that match and was for some reason off TV for multiple months just for that one match. But whatever, when he returned and they started rebuilding him, I said, this run needs to be a lot better than the other ones. It started off well, then went a bit, but now we're back on track. This heel run, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to Nakamura Rollins World Heavyweight Championship at Payback. Whoo, I'm in for that one. But something that I'm not in for is Candice LeRae getting squashed, because Rhea Ripley squashed Candice LeRae last night on Raw. She brought back, I forgot the name of the move. You guys know me, I'm awful with names of moves. But she brought back the submission move, which I love, and Candice sold it so well as well. But yeah, it was a short, decent, but it was pretty much a squash match. But then after it, Rhea and Dom were, celebrating as usual, and then Raquel Rodriguez comes down the aisle with a crutch, and it was so obvious. Like, it was just so obvious what was going to happen here. We've seen it a million times in wrestling. Can we please just stop seeing it, to be honest with you? I'm sick and tired of seeing it every time somebody has a leg injury. In fact, I believe Raquel's even done the same thing before. But anyway, she got the crutch and then took out Rhea Ripley, and she confirmed that Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez is happening for the Women's World Championship. But what is the name of the move, Clark?
It's called the Prism Trap. It's an elevated inverted Texas cloverleaf.
Whew, there we are. Hell of a name for it as well. But Carter, what about you? What did you think of Rhea Ripley against Candice LeRae?
So before I go off, especially if any of this gets clipped, these are my views, not the views of the Wrestling Republic. But dare I say, with Rhea, they're doing a little bit of the acknowledge me with all the squash matches, and I honestly, I love Indy Hartwell. The fact that they brought her up, I was a big fan of it. And I think she could be a great competitor with Rhea down the road. But to have Rhea squash her last week and just be in the background this week, I know it's good with Raquel, but like you said, Ben, it's very, very kind of predictable bit. It's something we've seen before with other wrestlers. It's not that exciting. I think with an up-and-coming star like Rhea, she's going to be a big deal for a long time. They need to build up stars to wrestle with her. And my only criticism of this whole thing is Indy's great. Just don't have all these NXT girls get squashed so heavily. Just build them up a little bit, because Rhea needs somebody to compete with. I know they're building her up and having this is the main roster. These are the new people from the smaller rosters, but it's just, I think it was too heavy of a squash. I get Rhea is a dominant competitor, so maybe there's this lead up to a matchup with Raquel. My main criticism is I think Indy Hartwell is a little bit better of a wrestler than they're making her out to be, and more than a second thought to Candice LeRae. And I just wish they would build up the bottom of the women's division a little bit better. But
You said those weren't the views of all of us here at Wrestling Republic. I'm gonna be honest here, Carter. I think they actually are the views of most of us here, because what you said is completely true there. I mean, you've got David Sheldon in the comments saying it was a pay-per-view caliber match on paper, wasted in a minute on Raw. Rhea squashes are at the moment coming at the expense of the rest of the division that really needs help. Yeah, I do have to agree with you there completely. We've also got a comment from Bobby Batito. Shout out to you. Welcome back to the show. But yeah, I do completely agree with you there, Carter. It does frustrate me, and I'm actually. I mean, the other thing that frustrated me on the show as well was the tag team match. That actually, we're not going to get into it today, but it really, really annoyed me because you have a legitimate tag team in, Katana Chance and Casey Catanzaro, and they were just squashed against Pippa Niven and Chelsea Green. And the first time they tagged, sure, it's making Pippa look strong, sure. But then once she loses this tag team title, she's probably going to be off TV for 6 months again. It annoys me. It really, really does. They do need to start booking the mid card of this women's division better, which is hilarious because this time last year the Raw women's division was on fire as well.
It was scorching.
It annoys me. It really does. Take notes from NXT. Take notes from Impact. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't really watched much MLW lately, but I've heard the women's division there's on fire too. So even take notes from there. Just take notes and just book it better. Rant over, and now let's actually continue talking about the women's division. So who knows? Maybe another rant's coming. In fact, it pretty much is. Let's talk about Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, right? Because this was meant to end last week. It didn't end last week. They did the count out thing, and then they went backstage. Zoe Starks took out Becky Lynch, even though she wasn't allowed out there. Then Adam Pearce announced that they'll be settling it at Payback in a steel cage match. Okay. Listen, this feud started with me complaining about it. It did. I, at the start, didn't like it. Clark, you kind of argued with me about it months and months ago. Drizzy, when he came on the Tuesday shows then, argued with me about it as well. And then you guys convinced me. I got into it. I started really liking it. However, it should have ended at SummerSlam. Why was this taken off the SummerSlam card? Now it just feels like they're trying to drag it on. The segment last night on Raw, what was the point in it? It achieved literally nothing. After coming out of that segment, nothing was achieved. Absolutely nothing. Trish Stratus actually, I'm going to be honest, the breath on yesterday's show kind of buried Trish a little bit, saying that, she doesn't look like great since she's returned. I disagree with that, but she didn't look great last night. But in fairness to her, she was cutting a promo and she didn't really know what to say because there was nothing she can say because this feud's gone on so many months now. They've not added any new layers to it. It's just infuriating to me. There's absolutely zero direction for it. And next week it's finishing Payback, steel cage, whatever. This could have been. Drizzy compared it to, Hulk Hogan
and The Rock.
And to be honest, I don't know if it could have ever gotten to quite that level, but it should have gotten a lot closer than it has done. But Clark, give me your thoughts on this.
I feel terrible saying this because I'm such a fan of both wrestlers. Trish is amazing. Becky is amazing. I actually even think Zoe's amazing. This storyline ran its course. You were spot on, and it's hard. It's hard to be overly critical of Hall of Famers, but let's get this over with the cage match at Payback and move on and call it a day and wash our hands. As far as Becky's concerned, she needs a comeback feud almost out of this, which is not what I would have anticipated coming out of which should have been remembered as a legendary feud with Trish Stratus. But she does, and I think there's only two real choices. One of them's Charlotte Flair. And I know we talk about the brand split, but that's dead and we all know it. And so one of them's Charlotte. Doesn't look likely. The other one is, can we get Bayley and Damage Control separated too? Speaking of stories that have ran its course. And let's have Bayley and Becky feud in a blood feud and tell a real story and do something similar to what Shinsuke Nakamura and Seth Rollins are doing right now. And other feuds that we're seeing elsewhere that make a bunch of sense because you have two performers of that caliber that should feel like main eventers every single time they walk through the curtain. And for some reason lately, neither one does. Neither one feels like a threat to win the major title on either brand. And Bayley and Becky Lynch should both be in that picture at all times. They're sharks in the water. They're two of the best we have. And let's not waste time.
Yeah.
Let's not do that anymore. And that's the problem with a lot of, we've talked about the booking of the AEW women's division. We talked about the booking of the Raw women's division. We've talked about the booking of the SmackDown women's division lately. We've complained about it all. Let's take advantage of the excellent talent we have and tell outstanding stories. And then it's all good, because the talent is not the problem. It isn't. And it never has been.
Yes.
We're all aware of the fact that it's there across the board. And the fact that we're in a spot where a Becky Lynch Trish Stratus segment fell flat in Canada. Come on, man. Stop it.
Yeah.
Let's be better. Do better by the talent, do better for the talent. And that's all I ask.
Yeah, no, I could not agree with you more there, Clark. We've been, I mean, it comes back to the entire ratings thing. People again are bringing up the rating thing in terms of why the Raw segments weren't getting much time lately and all of that. I don't want to hear it, right? Let's say you book one of the best wrestling storylines of all time, right? And everybody switches off the TV during it and then turns it back on afterwards. Well, I guess then you'd have an argument. But you are booking the women's division with, like, not even anywhere near the same amount of energy as you're booking the men's one with, and it's doing basically the same ratings. It's a completely dead argument. It really annoys me, and it annoyed me when Tony Khan said it a couple of weeks ago. That really frustrated me to do with his women's division. But it's one of those things now where it's not just AEW. Raw lately has been bad. SmackDown, I don't think it's been as bad, but it's still,
okay.
you know, it's only been okay. Yeah.
Has Asuka really elevated herself? No.
No,
has Bianca you know what I mean?
Shotzi,
like we've seen.
Yeah.
Shotzi, maybe, yes. I would agree with you on the
better.
lower card of the SmackDown women's division has been actually, to me, the most cleanly booked and well thought out of any, which is shocking, right? You would think the main event division would be.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But I mean, we've got a couple of comments. Should we first got WWE_26 in. The WWE needs to fix their women's division. They want them to bring back Nia Jax, Kairi Sane, Ember Moon, and the Iconics. Ember Moon, I mean, she's Athena now in Ring of Honor and AEW, so that can't happen. Nia Jax, I mean, maybe. I mean, they need people, I guess. Kairi saying yes to the yes. Iconics, absolutely. But here's the thing. They have a lot of great talent. They're just not booking them correctly, and that's the annoying thing. Bobby is saying in the comments that perhaps, you know, Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley. I'd love to see that. In fact, I absolutely would love to see that. I think they should do that. I think it's something which they might be saving for WrestleMania, unfortunately, which is shocking because what are you going to do until then? But that is certainly the money feud on the Raw women's division right now. We've got Matt Williams saying Impact has the best women's division in North America.
I would say that they have the strongest booked women's division in North America, but if you booked any of the other North American rosters as strong as Impact's women's division is booked, and this is no knock on the talent, I do think the Knockouts division is strong, but if you book either WWE or AEW's women's roster as strong as Impact's, we're having an entirely different conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good point there. I cannot disagree with you at all. But now let's move on and let's talk about The Miz, because The Miz came out on Raw, right, and he continued to try and bury LA Knight on the mic, saying that that LA Knight will be remembered as a flash in the pan, while The Miz will be remembered as a WrestleMania main eventer. I'm not actually sure if The Miz will be remembered as that, considering I think a lot of people often forget it now. But Miz deserves to be fair. I mean, really, really does. But anyway, Miz said that he'd, face anybody now because he wants to face somebody better than LA Knight. And he's chosen the strongest, the best opponent on Monday Night Raw. And he brought out Tozawa. It was so obvious. Everybody saw it was Tozawa a mile coming. But Tozawa got in the ring and then started answering everything the Miz was saying with, yeah. And it was just so funny. Tozawa was great in this. Miz was getting furious. It was just
my gimmick.
Yes, he stole Clark's gimmick. It was just done super well. I loved this. I really did. And then as the match between Miz and Tozawa started, LA Knight, came out and he joined commentary, and commentary very much put LA Knight over. They spoke about how, for years, LA Knight's been, working really hard to get to this level. He's not just a flash in the pan. He's been working hard for it. And a lot of people on social media, on the app, which was formerly known as the Bird app, now it's an X, people were saying on there, WWE, Vince McMahon's trying to bury LA Knight. And who knows, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. I don't think it's true, though, because the commentary team very much put LA Knight over last night. I think it's just the way WWE likes to do things is they when they push a talent that fans like, they want to make sure fans really do like them, so they kind of do it little bits at a time, stop, start, before they really accelerate in it. If you like LA Knight, keep supporting LA Knight, and he'll be fine as long as you do keep supporting him, right? But the commentary team very much put him over in this. But trying to show off to LA Knight actually cost Miz the match, and Tozawa beat the Miz. That shocked me. But I don't really know what else to say about this. We know Cena's coming back to SmackDown in a couple of weeks. I'd like for LA Knight versus The Miz to be wrapped up next Monday on Raw, and then for us to get LA Knight versus John Cena on SmackDown next Friday. Let's do it. Yeah, but Carter, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a mix of The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Randy Savage, the LA Knight is the wrestler. It's just raw, organic. We have a great new superstar. Everyone loves him. And this feud with The Miz, I don't know, like from last week, you remember The Miz on commentary, he says he's in and out, he's a flash in the... I think The Miz might believe what he's saying, but hilarious, super hilarious, the two of them. I mean, it couldn't be any sort of doubts you have about LA Knight, if you have any, which you shouldn't, but if you do, The Miz is going to vocalize them. So it's a great feud. It's hilarious. I mean, The Miz is a very underrated talent. I actually met him at a Clippers game. Really nice guy. Could not say anything but good things about him. Took a picture with me. So stand-up dude outside of the ring, inside of the ring, underrated, great talent, hilarious host of WrestleMania. So it's just a great bit. I mean, when LA Knight was looking at Tozawa, and he's just like, yeah, good, you beat him, good job. It's just like hilarious, which is like, I mean, that's what makes wrestling. It's fun, it's exciting, it's at its best, it's super funny, and it was just great bit. Two great workers. I look forward to where this is going. They're doing a great job with, like we said, LA Knight, Gunther, the men's division. They're building up these guys, for the future really well. And this was just another example of that. It was just super fun, good match, great use of Tozawa too. I mean, just hilarious. So yeah, shout out to whoever was writing last night, because I really enjoyed that. And please, more LA Knight guest commentary spots. Those only help with all of us.
Yeah, no,
I agree with that.
I mean, I am gonna have to correct something you just said, Carter. You said that LA Knight's gonna be the future. Well, LA Knight as of this time is 78 years old, so unfortunately that cannot be the case.
You keep aging him. He gets older by the day, Ben.
It's an ongoing thing. Kobe's not on the show today for me to wind up about LA Knight, so I had to choose somebody. But no, I do agree with you. It was such a really fun segment.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think The Miz isn't really trying to bury LA Knight, but who knows? Stranger things have happened in wrestling this year. But now let's talk. Oh, I'm about to go on another rant. Oh gosh. Let's talk about the Judgment Day. I usually love the Judgment Day, but Clark, you'd be delighted to know I'm about to go on a rant. Sami Zayn opened Raw. It was in Quebec. The crowd loved it. The Judgment Day came out, interrupted him. Kevin Owens returned. Huge pop. Everybody was happy. And then they said, well, us two will face two of you later in the night. Well, we've seen Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day 10,000 times, but okay. I'll let it go. I'll stay calm. Then the story over the rest of the night was, well, are the Judgment Day on the same page? They're not on the same page. So Rhea Ripley gets them back on the same page. Says, Finn, you're teaming with Priest. Go out there and face Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They then go out there. They have that match. It's all going well, whatever. Slight difference as JD McDonough threw a briefcase in, but that was the only change. DQ. Oh no, what are we going to do now? A 6-man tag match. Oh wow, Cody's joining there. Oh wow, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn are teaming up with Cody once again. Oh, and now Dominic's going to be involved too. They've done this I literally got deja vu watching this, right? They've done this week in, week out. in some way, shape, or form, right? It feels like every single week the Judgment Day start the show not on the same page, throughout the show get back on the same page, and then in the main event lose. You've got to advance the storyline. I like the Judgment Day. I've been defending the Judgment Day. I don't think this is the fault of the Judgment Day. I think the Judgment Day is a great faction, but the booking is awful. It really, really is at this point. Oh, rant over, but I know if David was here, he'd also be joining in on this rant because we had a long rant about it earlier. But Carter, give me your thoughts. Am I being a bit harsh on this?
Well, I'll defend it a little bit. As a PWG guy, it's great to see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, WWE. I mean, seriously, that's awesome to see indie wrestlers, tag team champions in WWE. Outside of that, 100%, I totally agree with you. This is a very stale story with great characters, great wrestlers. It's a disservice to I mean, I think this, like you said, that we've seen this exact match like 100 times over. It doesn't even matter the variation, adding the third tag team partner, running it again. Ray is yelling at the boys. It was very predictable. And when it's predictable, it's not enjoyable. Like the earlier match with Gunther, when that result happened, I was like, oh, how did I not think of that? Where this match, it's like all the same bodies in the ring all over. Granted, very talented guys, so they're going to make it exciting. It was a fun match, some sweet moves, but it was, I mean, like you said, it's the same story over and over again, which when you see stuff like same storyline, same characters, it gets very stale. And the Judgment Day to me is starting to get a little stale. I think Finn Balor, his record needs to improve, and that's not on him, that's on the organization. And it's just the whole thing's stale, which you don't want in wrestling. You want boos, you want cheers, you don't want nothing. And that's kind of what this gave to me, which is why I said maybe the earlier match should have been on the top of the card. But they really should be writing more original storylines, maybe breaking up some factions, adding in some new guys, utilizing those NXT guys better. There's a lot more they could be doing with this that they're not doing. We're seeing the same show over and over again. And, I think that the tag team division is owed a little bit more than that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And Matt Williams has a great comment here saying there's going to be a rematch next week with, the Judgment Day saying, oh, well, last week they had all of Canada on their side. Yeah, you're right. They're gonna do that. But before I pass it to you, Clark, because I know you're going to twist it, your anti-Judgment Day propaganda you have, where you have an agenda. Why are these guys together? They've explained it. I have a rule for your rant you're about to go on.
This is going to be
wild. You cannot criticize the Judgment Day as a faction. You can only criticize the segment. Go.
This is the first time that I thought the writer's strike might have affected professional wrestling since I've been watching Raw.
Whoa.
I mean, I've seen this before, right? Like, just keep handing me the same stuff. I mean, come on, man. We're better than this. I didn't realize it ran that deep, but yeah, I know you said the rule, but I'm a longtime rule breaker, and I'll say this. I still think the Judgment Day is a faction full of over individuals that have been grouped together, and they aren't over as a group. Telling that story over and over again, as you mentioned, of dissension and then reunity at the end of the show is as big of a part of the problem as anything. And that's the scoop on Hoops there. That's what happened. We've got the same story every week. They get along, they don't. They don't get along, they do. And Rhea's the leader. Maybe she's not. It's Balor. No, it's Priest. And then Dominic's in there. And just because he has a mullet, he's not Eddie Guerrero like I've stated in the past. Very much not so. And it's just, yeah, you can add JD McDonough, do whatever you like. This thing started as Edge's creepy faction, and there's nothing creepy about him anymore. The purple and black thing, like, they're just like a pseudo gang. They're like a bunch of pop stars that got together to do, they're One Direction, right? They're the Backstreet Boys, right? They're a bunch of solo singers singing on the same stage. And it's for what it is, it's been all right. But like, it's time to let them all fly on their own. Maybe keep Dom with Ripley, because I don't know what he does without her. Because
Brutal.
The amount of one-liners, and this is the first time I thought Raw might have been affected by the writer's strike. But I mean, Matt Williams is loving it in the comments too. But I disagree with you at parts. I mean, I don't see how the Judgment Day is one direction. I think I agree that when it happened, I said, why is Edge leaving this group? This is rubbish. But they've ended up doing a great thing together. They're huge on social media. It's very entertaining what they're doing on Raw most weeks. The issue is the booking of them, and it has gotten absolutely
could you tell me about a
ridiculous.
single Judgment Day T-shirt? What it looks like?
Yeah,
It's probably purple.
I quite like
Oh,
the
it's purple
Judgment
and
Day
black,
t-shirt.
but I mean, like, what's on it?
I quite like them.
But what's on it? Like, it doesn't. I mean,
It's
you don't
the-
see them in
I'm-
the crowd.
What's it called? They've been selling well. They
No,
have been
you see
selling
the
well.
Ripley ones, you see like the Ripley and Dom ones, and then you see the separate ones. They're all
Yeah,
individuals. They're not a faction. There's not
That's
the
true, they're all
NWO.
separate.
There's not the LWO. It's all individuals.
Okay, good point. Good point. Now I'll give you that one. I really, really will. I mean, they have had the Judgment Day T-shirts, but you're right. It's not like they've got, a standout T-shirt like, the NWO did recently. The Bullet Club have, but then you
The
can look at other
Bloodline.
factions. I mean, but the Bloodline that use different logos. They had that
At
one,
times,
and then they
but that was a
switched it.
part of the storytelling with Sammy.
True.
This isn't a part of their
True.
storytelling.
No, that's true. That's 100. They did. Yeah, I'm not criticizing it, but the
Yeah.
New Day is another perfect example. They've been great, and they've had different, designs and all of that, and individual ones too at times. But I can see the T-shirt argument. I can. The rest of it, I think you're a Judgment Day hater, Clark. I think you have an agenda against the Judgment Day, right? Anytime Clark sees purple, he just gets mad. But
it's because of K-State. You're right. That's a good point. Kansas State's purple.
Mm-hmm.
No, it makes sense. Oh, there we are.
Great
but
point.
no, I do agree with a lot of what you said. It does feel like, they were just a bit lazy to change this part of the show this week. So they were like, yeah, screw it. We'll use the script from, I think it was 5 weeks back. They did this literal exact same thing. And now they're running it back again. It feels like it's every week. I've gone back on Cage Match. It isn't quite every week where they have the same 6-man tag match. But like last week, they did the singles match with Balor and Cody. But it's still the same story of they start off the show not on the same page. They get back on the same page, and then they lose. And then the next week, they won't be on the same page again. And JD McDonough's slowly creeping in. And I understand people say, well, wrestling fans want long-term storylines. We absolutely do. But you don't watch a TV show and see the same episode each and every week and just one tiny little thing change.
We want
don't.
long-term
It's JD
storylines that
McDonough's stuff is
advance.
slow. Yeah, exactly. They need to
Episodically.
advance.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's
They
the
need
key.
to advance. They really, really do. Not the same thing over and over and over again. They need to speed this up. JD McDonough, if you're going to do this, should have been involved for the last 3 months throughout this entire Seth and Balor storyline. And now this is when you do that big setup. Because now you have to do that while the Judgment Day are doing nothing. They haven't really teased any cash-ins lately. Like, they are cooling on that. I understand that why, because they tease cash-ins like every episode for like 5 weeks. But they need to do something, don't they? They just...
See, I want them to have a thing about JD joining the Judgment Day if they're going to do it. Tell that story. Like, what other than the Balor connection, like that we've assumed, we talk about booking for the hardcore fan. Unless you're a hardcore fan, you don't know that JD and Balor know each other that well. Like,
in fairness, they do say it.
They've said it. They've mentioned it on commentary, but that's it, right?
Yeah.
Like, Balor and JD haven't discussed their plan. If you want to cause dissension in the Judgment Day, I'd even prefer that story to be told. Maybe it looks like Balor and JD are going to go separate and run that tag team for a bit.
I think that's
bolster the tag division, given that you've got Kevin and Sammy.
My prediction is that not my prediction. My thought process is that's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to tease currently, but they're not doing a very good job of it. And my prediction of what's going to actually happen is JD McDonough is going to enter Judgment Day and kick Balor out, and Rhea Ripley's gotten him on their team. And all of that, just kind of like a double turn type situation. I think that's the direction they're gonna go, but it's not clear enough on TV. They're not doing a good enough job, with the, like you said, the making it look like Finn might leave with JD. I think that should be more obvious rather than them all getting on the same page at the end of every show every week. But anyway, guys, rant over, show over. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you were watching the show on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're over on Twitch, give us a follow. It's much appreciated. Over on Spotify, a cheeky 5 stars would be lovely. We'll be back here tomorrow at the same time to preview Dynamite. And tonight, immediately 15 minutes after NXT, we have got wrestling off the air. The NXT post-show. Clark, Grizzy, and Shard will be talking all things NXT tonight. It's going to be a banger of a show, guys. Make sure you check that out. But thank you, Carter. Thank you, Clark. And we will see you guys very shortly. Enjoy NXT.